guys, how's it going? How you doing today? Hopefully today finds you well. Today I'm doing another best and worst shade in my palette collection, and I have pulled my Ace Beaute palettes in for this episode. I've done a couple of these. I think I've done Huda. I've also done Lunar Beauty, and I will link those up in the cards for you guys throughout this video so that you can go watch those. Seems to be a video that many of you enjoy, so I thought I'd keep it going, and I have a ton of different brands to choose from, and today again we'll be doing my Ace Beaute. I only have 5 palettes from Ace Beaute, and these are the old formula, so you know, in the new formulation, these shadows might be different, but these are what we're going through today. I hope that sounds like something you're interested in. And if it does, please keep on watching. For those of you new here, hi, my name is Donna. I'm a lover of all things high-end, colorful beauty and self-care. I also work in the beauty industry as a field leader for Ulta Beauty. I get a lot of education in my position. I like to bring you that education here on my channel. But ultimately, I'm just out here talking about makeup because I enjoy talking about makeup. I'm assuming if you're here, you also enjoy talking about makeup. And I certainly hope that you find that this channel warms your soul and that you'll want to subscribe before you go. I'd love to welcome you into my YouTube fam. And with that said, let's roll into this best and worst shade in the palette from Ace Beaute.
I have a little bit of a headache, and I am kind of recovering from migraine over the last couple days. I want my hair to part differently than what it does, so it's looking a bit haggard today, but mostly because it wants to part where I don't want it to part, so I need to retrain it. Otherwise it just looks kind of flat, but I digress. Let's move on.
Okay, so as I stated in the intro, we'll be going through the Ace Beaute palettes that I have in my collection. I only have 5. I have 3 from the Paradise collection, I do believe it was called. I have Classical Paradise, Paradise Fallen, and Blossom Passion. And then I have 2 that are just like, I don't know, random, I guess. I have Nostalgia and Flare. I love Ace Beaute, and these are, you know, formulas from the old formulation. I've heard that their new formulation is pretty amazing, but even though this is from the old formulation, I still found some really great shadows in this and some really great duds in these palettes. So let's start with this one here. This is the Ace Beaute Classical Paradise palette, and this is kind of like that fall toned color scheme. It looks very golden delicious apples to me, to be honest, and I was so excited for these shades. My favorite one in this palette would have to be this one here, the red, and my least favorite would have to be this yellow shimmer right here. I'm always on the hunt for a really great yellow shimmer that pulls yellow and not gold, which I do think that this one does, but it's just kind of chunky monkey. Let me pull these out for you. So my favorite would be this red shade here, and I think that this one is my favorite because it really just pulls red. It is a red shadow, and it definitely pulls red, and it is called Clay in the palette, and I really do think that it is a beautiful, beautiful red matte shadow that actually pulls red and not pink. And then my least favorite is this yellow because, as I said, I really am just always trying to find a yellow that pulls yellow and not gold, and I do think that this one does. But I do also think that this one has a lack of opacity that I want from it, but also is really, really chunky and a little bit just lackluster in my humble opinion. I do think that they could have done a really great job with this shadow, but it's not fantastic. I wish it were a little bit more like this color yellow, and this yellow is actually a really great pigmented yellow matte as well, but I think the reformulation, if I remember correctly, was done because their shimmers are just not fantastic. This is, you know, it lacks pigment, and I think that you can see that in the screen as well. It does look like it lacks pigment. It looks like it's more of a like a pastel yellow, but when you're looking at it head on, it does look like it should be the perfect partner to this yellow, and it lacks it. Like, it doesn't show up on the eye very well. You do have to put like a yellow underneath it and then a glitter glue on top of it so it doesn't fall out everywhere. And I love this palette, and I love everything about that palette except for that yellow shade, to be honest. My next one is this guy here. And listen, this is the Paradise Fallen. I loved this palette. I had a really, really great time with this palette. My favorite in this palette is probably this deep, dark purple shimmer. And my least favorite is definitely this one right here, which is the chunkiest, ugliest silver I have ever encountered in my life. So the purple, the deep dark purple, is a shimmer, and it is called Night Sky. And it is just so, so pretty. It really does shine beautifully on your eyeballs. It's more of a satin, so I feel like it could be also built up into the outer corner to deepen up an eye look, and it is just gorgeous. And then the silver, it's really chalky. It's really lackluster. Again, I mean, this is not what I envisioned this shadow to look like, but that is exactly what it looks like. It looks more of like a silky gray than it does a shimmer silver. But also, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it just kind of exacerbates every amount of texture that you have, and it's so, so powdery for a shadow that is supposed to be a shimmer. It is the worst. I hated using this color. I think I ended up putting it into like 2 eye looks and then was like, no. Speaking of, I do have palette roulettes on all of these palettes, so I will link that, either that playlist up in the cards for you or these individual 5 up in the cards for you, because I do have reviews on each one of these. I also have the Ace Beaute. This is the Blossom Passion palette. I had so much fun with this palette. I really do love a pink on my eye. I think it's a beautiful color story to live on my brown eyes with my kind of olive complexion. I don't know. I just kind of love it on myself. I had such a great time with this eyeshadow palette. And at the time, my hair was kind of like pink and orange and blonde, and it was beautiful. This palette went so well with my hair. My favorite in this palette is probably this hot pink here, honestly. And my least favorite is this pink right here. Again, my least favorite being a shimmer. And I think that you guys can see, just barely dipping in, like how much powder comes out of this palette. But the pink, I mean, what? Like, this pink is fantastic. It is so pigmented, so beautifully opaque. It just is gorgeous. And then the shimmer, again, it's just chunky monkey. It's lackluster. I think it's pretty, but it's more of a, I think it was beautiful as like more of a highlight than it was as a shimmer. Their shimmers leave a lot to be desired. It is shiny, but it's not like beautiful shiny. And again, it really does exacerbate texture, and it really is just dry. It's so dry and not chunky necessarily, but like you can definitely tell that it is a powder that's just laying on top of your skin versus a powder that is kind of like sinking in and making a home. Does that make any sense? It's just unlike any other like shimmer formula I have ever tried in my life. As a matter of fact, I think the best out of the 3 shimmers that I have here as my least favorite is probably this yellow in that sinking into the skin kind of thought process. But I obviously had some favorite in the bunch that were shimmers because this one is also considered a shimmer. But the next palette I have to share with you on is the Nostalgia palette. I love this palette. It's a gorgeous palette. But probably my least favorite was this yellow matte. And this yellow matte was one of my least favorites because it oxidized in a way that was just not flattering. I don't know that oxidization is flattering in any capacity, but it truly did oxidize in a way that was awful. And there's a much better yellow in that Classical Paradise palette that I love so, so much more that didn't oxidize in the way this one did. And my favorite would probably honestly be this one, which is a shimmer. That is the yellow, and it is pretty, but again, it oxidizes on the outskirts of the eye look that you put it into. It turns like this really dingy color of like almost like a mustard yellow, and therefore it is no longer, you know, attractive at all. And then this is my favorite shade in the bunch, and that is shimmer. And just look at how beautiful and opaque and glowy that is. Like, this is what I expected from the other shimmers in the collection, and this one doesn't really exacerbate any kind of texture. It's just a beautiful like corally pink that is just so pretty, just so gorgeous. It's kind of got like this silvery shimmer that runs through it. It's just beautiful. It's so, so pretty. I haven't been telling you the names of the shadows. Okay, so the purple ones in this palette. So for these two here, the silver and the purple, the favorite was called Night Sky, and the least favorite was called Moon Glow. And for the two out of the pink palette, the Blossom Passion, the favorite was called Love, and the least favorite was called Peony. Or Peony? Peony, right? Peony is a flower. In the Flare palette, the least favorite, because I don't know why I flopped those swatches, but the least favorite is called Water Slide, and the most favorite is called Heat. And this red is a good red, but I don't think it's not as red as this one. It's more pink leaning, so beautiful, but more pink leaning. Okay, this one is the Flare palette, and this one is, whereas this one might be, you know, your total like summer vibe, this one is definitely, I feel like a fall tone vibe, like October, November leaning kind of eyeshadow palette. If I wore my eyeshadow palettes by month, like if I picked my eyeshadow palettes because they reminded me of month, this palette reminds me of Halloween and Thanksgiving all rolled up into one, like a fall harvest, right? So I think my favorite shade in this palette is this one here, which is called Bayberry. And my least favorite is this one here, which is called Forest Pine. Least favorite is this one here. And I think that this one is my least favorite because it's just, can you guys see it? It doesn't want to blend. It doesn't want to blend at all. I think it's super pigmented, and beautiful. It's a really pretty color, but it doesn't want to blend. Where you put it is where it's going to stay. Do not think that you could go in with a blending brush and blend that out to make it look perfection in your eye look, because it's not going to. I love the pigmentation of it. Love the pigmentation of it. Hate the blendability of it. And then this one is my favorite. Look at how gorgeous this is. Let me make that bigger so that it's prettier. Look at how beautiful that shimmer is. It's like the foam on a waterfall. It's just so dang pretty. That is probably the prettiest, like, probably the prettiest tealy blue, baby blue shimmer that I have in my collection. I just think it's gorgeous, and it has a little bit of like silver goldiness running through it, so it kind of looks different depending on what color you pair it with. And these two on the end here were a beautiful color story to try and put into an eye look, but this matte shade gave me so many problems when I was trying to work with it that I just gave up. So those are my favorite and least favorite shadows in the Ace Beauty palettes that I have in my collection. I really do love Ace Beaute as a brand. I think that they're gorgeous, and all of them are fave, least fave, fave, least fave until you get hair. And I don't know why I switched it up at that point. At that point, it becomes least fave, fave, least fave, fave. Beautiful shadows, really, truly beautiful formulas. Even though I only own the old formula, truly these formulations are...
What is that?
How? How did that even happen, Donna? I for sure thought I was bleeding. So strange. I don't even know how that happened. What was I saying? Even the old formula from Ace Beaute, I think, was a beautiful formula. I would be interested in picking up these same palettes in their new formula to see how different it is. I do think that if they had a formula that needed to be fixed, it was their shimmer formula, because these palettes don't necessarily have the best shimmers, although there are some really great ones in here. I would say the shimmers in these palettes are more miss than they are hit, and this is their old formulation. Really super happy to have these palettes into my collection, but that is what I deem my favorite and least favorite shades in each one of the Ace Beaute palettes that I have in my collection. I hope you enjoyed this. Do you have Ace Beaute palettes in your collection? And if so, what are your favorites and least favorites? And if you ever play with eyeshadow, do you ever get it on your double chin in the way I did? I would be interested to hear from you guys down in the comments section. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I do appreciate you being here, spending a moment of your time. I know that time is a commodity that we don't all have, so I 100,000% love every single one of you for showing me some love today. I hope that you and yours are healthy, that you're staying safe, that you're doing well out there, and that you're enjoying what maybe, hopefully, is coming upon you in the warmer months. Although for some of you that watch my channel, it is becoming winter for you, and I just came out of that, so I don't envy you at all. But I love every single one of you so much, and until next time, bye friends.